you wait? Can you color me in? Must you shade me in gray? I wanna be golden, rose, rose colored gold, touched by the sun. I wanna feel chosen, like you pull me right out of the
All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, awakening, transformative, chaotic planet of ours. This is Metaphysical Meetup with the Intuitive Prospector. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here with you on another fabulous Friday, or as I like to say, Fry-yay. It is also Blue Friday. I usually don't wear sports gear on my shows, but today, let me just change the sound here. But today, sorry, I had to change the sound back. But today is Blue Friday, and it's the Friday before the Super Bowl. And like I said, I usually don't wear sports gear on my shows, but I have to represent. Got to represent the 12s. Got to represent my Seattle Seahawks going to the Super Bowl for the 4th time. We can now say officially that the Seattle Seahawks, I'll probably get some comments. We can now officially say that the Seattle Seahawks are God's team, and we can back that up by statistics, because every time a new pope for the last 3 popes that have been picked and chosen by that religion, our Seahawks have gone to the Super Bowl. Now, we haven't won all of them. We've lost 2 and won 1. I was at the last Super Bowl that we went to against the Patriots, so we are seeking our revenge and redemption on being on the half-yard line and losing by 4 points when it was ours to win. So I was there. I witnessed it, the heartbreak, the joy, the excitement, the uncertainty. And I think it's going to be a very fun, entertaining Super Bowl. Of course, people are asking me, like, who do you, from a psychic standpoint, who do you think is going to win? It's hard for me to be objective when I'm close to something and very passionate. I used to be a season ticket holder for the Seahawks, went to many games for many years. They've always been my team. And it's funny because I lived in Boston for several years and I never went to a Patriots game. But no disrespect to the Patriots. They've done a fantastic job of turning their season around, their head coach, their quarterback. I think it's going to be a very fun, entertaining game with a fun, entertaining halftime show, of course, a fun commercial. So I hope you take this time to celebrate with family and friends and colleagues and coworkers and fur babies, just to celebrate life. And my prediction is it's not going to be close. Again, I'm trying to be. It's hard to be objective and logical and tune into my psychic abilities when I love something for so much. But I just don't feel. I feel like this Super Bowl is not going to be a close Super Bowl. I feel like it's going to be more of a blowout. And then our Seattle Seahawks are going to take it just based on everything that I've seen, the statistics. I could be completely wrong. That's okay. I will publicly, do a forecast saying that I believe that Seattle Seahawks are going to be the Super Bowl champions, the Super Bowl 60 by a lot versus a little. And then we'll have to wait, watch, and witness, as I always say. But again, it's, I put that little caveat, the little star, because I'm so connected and compassionate about my Seattle Seahawks, which just is the last time we won in New York against the Denver Broncos, and it was a blowout. But I had to represent. It's Blue Friday. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me this morning. Today is also for my subscribers. It is Diamonds Day, so remember, if you're a Diamonds Hub subscriber, paid subscriber, or a Patreon prospector, through my Patreon page today at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and again at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check your local time zone because we have 2 time zones where you can come into the Zoom room and ask me questions. It could be questions about, it could be psychic, it could be mediumship, it could be intuitive, it could be spiritual, it could be like, hey, I need a healing request, or meditation, or a sound bath. And it's the first Friday of every month throughout the year is dedicated to my Diamonds Hub and Patreon prospectors, paid subscribers. If you're not a paid subscriber, because I have a bunch of people on Patreon that follow me, but they're not paid. If you come into the waiting room, you'll stay in the waiting room. This is for paid subscribers only, and it's my way of giving back every Friday to you for the journey. So again, the Zoom links are on the closed page. The only way you can get to it is become a subscriber. And I will take live readings in the Zoom room. You can call into the Zoom room. The numbers are there. The link is there. I will also be taking calls on my business line, my personal business line, if you want to give me a call there. So today, now that I'm done bragging about my Seattle Seahawks and Blue Friday, or Blue Friday, I wanted to come on today. I wasn't on last week. See if I can get through this without tears. Last week at this time, we had to, after almost 15 years in our life, we had to help our beloved fur baby O'Malley, aka Moose, transfer to the Rainbow Bridge, and helped with his passing. He had kidney failure, and so Thursday night last week we got notice. We went and had his blood work, and we were kind of wondering. We knew something was up. We were hoping it might be fixable or teeth. But when the blood work comes back and it says it's full kidney failure, you can't do anything for your fur babies. They don't allow surgeries in the United States. I think they do in other countries to do, kidney transplants. But, he had a good life. He lived 15 years with us. I haven't known this house in 10 years without him being here. And so that's been part of the hard journey of dealing with grief. And that's what I want to talk about with you today. Like I said, this time last week, I wasn't on because I was actually taking him around to each of the rooms and letting him outside and giving him his last treat, and just really making the approach to death very compassionate, very peaceful. And we took him over, and I do want to give a big shout out to Urban Animal here in West Seattle. They were fantastic. We brought him in, wrapped in his heart blanket he loved. And really just gave us as much time as we needed to honor his transition. And, I've been doing this work for a long time. I came into this work because of severe loss and traumas and tragedies, or what you'll often hear me call the TNT that blew up my life. But it also, over the years of honoring grief and in counseling and grieving counseling and just mentorship from my mentors. um you know it's um it's still tough, but we have to remember that when we are helping somebody, whether it's a family member, a friend, or a fur baby, cross over that rainbow bridge. And I always refer to it as a rainbow bridge because for me that's visually just it's appealing to me. Like, hey, we're getting ready to die, there's this beautiful rainbow bridge filled with colors and everybody's waiting at the top of it to welcome you home. And if you ever seen the movie Coco, love that movie because it talks about the rainbow bridge and going back and over and remembering those that we have loved and connected with here in the physical plane, but also know that it's not the end and we'll see him again. And just spending last Friday with him versus doing any of my work, just the importance of that and talking with him and preparing him. I personally believe he knew because he had been, sick for a few days and not really moving and had lost a lot of weight. And he was smelling differently. So I knew intuitively that this was probably the end of his journey, but thanked him for spending, so many high quality years living a very awesome life as our mascot here. Like when we have friends and family, we always say Hotel Lainhart, he's the mascot. And even people that didn't like cats, I know not everybody's a cat person, but even people, we got condolences from people like, I'm not a cat person, but I love that cat, he was cool. And I just, he's our fourth cat. But there's, if you're an animal lover and owner like we are, there's just certain animals that connect with you. um there's just certain animals that connect with you to help you on your journey of life. And that's what Moose was for both of us. And so we're grieving pretty hard with his loss. And I've heard other people say, oh, it's just an animal. And I want to talk to you about that today because it's studies show that humans actually grieve a little bit harder over their animal versus other humans. And grief, it comes in many different forms. And one of the things that I was just talking with my group on Wednesday is we have to process our emotions. We have to identify our emotions. We have to process our emotions. We have to feel our emotions in order for a shift to happen. And that's the same thing with grief. We have to honor our grief. And as a spiritualist, one of my principles that I follow, that I love about being a spiritualist, is our fifth principle is called personal responsibility. And I have a personal responsibility for myself to honor my grief because nobody else is going to do it for me, right? And not play the victim of the grief, but acknowledge the grief and feel the grief and honor the grief so it allows a process to shift and to heal. And I'm going to be sharing with you some tips for today about how to honor your grief when it comes to your fur babies, when it comes to, having the responsibility, the authority, and the compassion to help our fur babies move over. Now, I know that's not right where we want to be with humans yet. Some countries, some states here in the United States allow for assisted, but I think it's very humane. I think it's very, if you know that you're terminal, if you know that your kidneys are gone, you know that death is approaching, why not make that a beautiful ceremony just like we do with birth, right? Because the loss on this side is also a reunion on the other side. So you have to look at that perspective. Even though Moose was leaving us, he was going home to be with his brothers that came before him and family members that are associated with me. That's my personal belief. I believe that there is life after death as a professional medium, as a psychic, as the thousands of readings I've done that prove that there is an empirical proof that there is life after death. Now, they have many different, analogies and labels and hats. Some call it heaven, some call it afterlife. Some people may be watching and say, I don't believe in that at all. I'm an agnostic. I want proof of life after death. Or you're an atheist, like you don't believe in death. And that's fine because everybody's welcome here to Metaphysical Meetup with the Intuitive Prospector because it's about having conversations and different perspectives. Because at the end of the day, the one thing we all have in common is death. Nobody is getting out of this. And so, when you have experiences, share those experiences because that's also helping to honor your grief and move through that. And so the song today was by an artist called Jenna Bell. It's called Rainbows, fitting. I'll be playing another song by her called For Always here later in the show to do a sunset or sunrise meditation. I went down to the Puget Sound, and I personally believe that you can find them in the sunrise and the sunset of the daily journey in the present moment, right? And part of this is not forgetting my past, but bringing the presence in to reflect on the past, what we did a week ago, because it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heart-wrenching to watch your fur baby or your loved one, if you've ever been with somebody like I have, that's watched them leave the physical body and transfer into the spirit world. My brother, my grandma, my fur babies. I've been there before, and it's heart wrenching. But at the same time, there's a lot of joy because I know it's never goodbye. It's just until I see you again. So I'm going to go over just some things with you today to talk about maybe you're struggling with grief. Maybe, and it doesn't have to be loss. Grief comes in many different forms in many different arenas. And I want to share that with you today on Metaphysical Meetup. If you want to catch my next show over on my YouTube channel and join the prospectors over there on my YouTube channel, I'll try to put the link into the page. That'll be airing at noon today. That's about spiritual events when you travel, some of the things that I've noticed. And good morning to my team of administrators and moderators that keep this platform positive. I'm not a big fan of social media anymore, to be honest with you. I know that we use it a lot for, promotions and follows and likes and all that. But over time, I've really just do it just to try to reach people, but try to make it a platform for positivity. Just like my podcast, Inspired Living, is about positivity, inspiring others, being inspired, inspiring before we expire. And, so my moderators keep the comments clean and professional and compassionate. So don't come on to the page and try to promote yourself and come to my page for more accurate, better reading. That's not what this is about. And if you do that, you're going to get blocked off the page, reported to the platform, and not welcome back. So you can see off camera, I've got a little multimeter. So if you see that thing light up like you just did, that means that's measuring energy, because I personally believe in, just like in death and dying, I believe everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Just like you heard me activate the sound bowl before the show, the energy that's in our heart called the God spark, and that when that energy leaves, the laws of physics, I like to blend spirituality and science methods and scientific concepts with what I do. And we know that the energy that resides here, that makes your heart beat, that pumps your blood, that gives you blood and oxygen to breathe in the incarnate world, when this energy leaves, it has to go somewhere by the laws of physics as we understand them today. And so for me, that energy of helping Moose with a very honored approach to death and dying and transformation, giving him 2 shots and him just going to sleep right in front of us, and that energy then leaving his heart and going over the rainbow bridge to return to source, whatever that source is for you. People ask me all the time, Mark, do you believe in heaven? And I do, but I don't believe that heaven is an up or down construct, just like I don't believe hell is a down construct metaphysically, because we live on a round planet, and on a round planet there is no ups or downs. And so I equate heaven, or whatever your belief system is, to the afterlife as being a vibration, not a location, a vibration versus a location. Just like I personally believe that, I believe that Jesus, one of many great gurus who came to the incarnate platform of Earth School of Life, but I don't believe he came to start a religion. And I think that's a misrepresentation. I think he came to start a frequency, which we call the Christ consciousness. People will disagree with me on that. That's fine. There's many different religions. There's 25 main religions. There's over 5,000 different religions around the planet. So that means there's over 5,000 different gods of whatever God is. But for me, trying to understand God and my journey of spirituality and my own near-death experience and the losses that I've gone through, it's like God is this object, or this presence that's not seen, but we throw labels over it to give it form, and then we call that God. I've had many experiences, but I can't tell you what or who God is. But I've read a lot. I do a lot of readings with my shows, a lot of readings for my podcast. One of the books that I would recommend is called The Lost Years of Jesus by Prophet. I read it years ago. It's off camera here. And it gave me perspective of what Jesus did. He went to India, he went to Tibet, he studied meditations, he studied metaphysics, he studied a lot of different spiritual modalities in different countries that aren't represented in the Bible. And when I have that perspective and that background about him, these are written documents, these are recorded documents in history, and we're not great with our history, right? But for me, Jesus was not about creating a religion, because religion for me is more dogmas and control and fear and tithing, versus spirituality and a frequency, and creating because he never talked about worship me. If you know your scripture, he talked about the God within. And so that energy, which some refer to as the God spark, because science doesn't know where that spark comes from. It begins at the conception of life, and then when we die, that energy actually moves on to wherever your belief system thinks it goes on, right? The body actually loses a little bit of weight in kilograms which some would say that's the soul, that's the energy, that's the auric field, leaving the body. And so we actually lose a little bit of weight scientifically. So today I want to talk to you, and maybe you're in a journey of loss or grief or change. You know, the only thing consistent in life is change. And off camera, I've got my plaque that reminds me life happens. Life doesn't ask us, hey, Mark, what do you want? Life happens, and we have to be flexible and bendable and have awareness and understanding to all the changes, including death and dying. Thank you, Kara. I appreciate you saying big hugs. Hi, Rafe. Hi, Tara. Good to see you, my friends. Thanks for being here. Thanks for following me on this journey. Happy Friday. If you're local and you're a Seahawks fan, go Seahawks on Sunday, who I predict will win pretty big win outright Super Bowl 60 and get redemption from our last Super Bowl that I was at personally. But today I'm talking about grief is real. To honor your grief because grief is real. And I always say that, you know, quote, once a student of grief, loss, tragedy, and trauma, today a teacher of aspiration, inspiration, rehabilitation, and transformation, end quote. That's my own quote because that's something that I've had to learn to go through. And again, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the butterfly calls a whole new world. Grief after losing a pet is tough. Like I said, I've known him. He was in our lives for 15 years. And I think one of the hard things I'm having is the habits. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You come into the room, you're like, hey, what are you doing? Or you wait for him to peek around the corner, or you hear a sound and it sounds like him. Those aren't there. Now he's there etherically. He's just not there in the physical body anymore. I personally believe that. And I've already had a few weird experiences throughout the week. And if you follow my journey, you know that I'm pretty weird, and that's okay too. But we've had a lot of cool events. But one of the things I want to tell you before we get into some of the bullet points as a pet owner, as honoring your grief, and grief is real, is Jenny, my wife, had bought a ring a couple months ago, and she doesn't have any rings that actually have a cat on the ring. And she bought it from the shop, and there was delays, and then the big storms hit, so everything got pushed back. And what I love about synchronicities, and Hawkins talked about this, Carl Sagan talked about this, Einstein talked about this, you know, synchronicities and coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. Again, whoever or whatever God is for you, the Great Spirit, Mother Divine, Gaia, you know, whatever that is for you. But Friday, this last Friday, is when we were celebrating the end of his life and taking him to all his rooms and his favorite food and his favorite blankets, and just cuddling him and loving him and talking with him and thanking him and crying with him. This ring arrived, this kitty ring. And it's a beautiful ring. And Jenny put it on her finger. And then we went to the vet, Urban Animal in West Seattle. Big shout out. They were awesome at 3. And we started the process of helping him to cross over the Rainbow Bridge. And we turned the lights down. We had beautiful music for him. He was even at the end, he was such a ham. He had all the tech and even the vet in tears. We were in tears, you know, hashtag ugly cry face, you know. But what I love about the end of his journey is he was laying on the table with his head on Jenny's hand. And the last picture we took before they gave him his last injection was the kitty ring on her finger, with him laying on her hand. And that's the last picture we have. And I think it was interesting, of all days, you know, on January 30th, this ring arrived, and then that's the last picture that we have with him. And he looked so peaceful. And if you've been through this situation, you know what I'm talking about. They give the first cocktail to relax him, and he was already chilled. He was pretty hurt. He was hurting pretty good with his kidneys, and then they give him the first injection, which is to help the respiratory, kind of that last breath, that last exhale. And then they push the final shot, and it's 30 seconds later, and he's gone home over the Rainbow Bridge. And so I look at things like that, like of all days. In January, if you follow my journey, you know January's always been a tough month for me. I lost my brothers in January. Todd, my older brother, on the 5th of January. Michael, my little brother, on the 23rd of January. And now I've lost one of my good totem spirit animals, Moose, on January 30th. And I used to live with that. And that's what I want to talk about, is if you don't honor your grief, you're going to live with depression, anxiety, regret, negative thought process. And for years, I would avoid the month of January. I dreaded the month of January because of the loss, because it was a reminder. But through, you know, hypnotherapy and spiritual counseling and grieving counseling, I didn't know that I was actually suffering from a thing called survivor's guilt because I'm one of three brothers and I'm the last of the brothers. And I thought I would always go first before my other brothers because I was the adventurous, dumb one doing stupid shit. And, Todd was very logical and very wise. And Michael was still very young, 23, 30, 35, just different age groups. And we ranged, I was 27 when they passed. But I didn't understand, and awareness is the greatest agent for change, for honoring your grief, is I didn't understand that I was living with survivor's guilt. That's why I hated the month of January. Now I live for the month of January. January is just a regular month. I don't, I've acknowledged my survivor's guilt. I've worked through my grief. But when you lose, it's not always about death. Grief arises from any significant loss that I've learned in this journey. Not just death. It can stem from changes in your health. I always say that your health is your wealth, something I've journeyed with the last year and a half with 5 major surgeries since 2024. Relocation, maybe you're moving to a new place, a new house, a new country, or even just a natural end of a routine bond, right? We're creatures of habit. And when life happens, as it says right here in my altar, right off camera, life doesn't ask us. And so it really becomes up to you. Is it happening for you? Or is it happening to you as a victim? I don't ever want to be a victim of my life circumstances because I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. And growth incorporates life, loss, and everything in between. That little dash on our headstone, right? That represents we came in a certain year, we go home in a certain year, and that little dash represents everything in between, right? So I don't want this to be a sad show. I want this to be an informative show. And when our routines change, I always say there's 2 parts to grief. First is the loss. Second is rebuilding a new life after the loss. And, with pets, factors such as age, like I said, he was 15, suddenness of death, it came on very quick within a span of 24 hours. We thought we had more time. And so it's a reminder, you think you have more time. Don't necessarily believe that, because I always say carpe diem, seize the day, the present moment, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. And that's what it was for Moose last Friday, this time a week ago. And that's why I wasn't on. But whether it's suddenness of death or given the shots like we did, which is my responsibility as an owner, I could have let him live he probably could have, the vet said he probably could go another month with kidney failure. And some people do that. And we weren't willing to let him suffer at our expense because we didn't want to lose him. We had to let go, right? And it's just like, this is a reminder here. Sometimes you need to let that, not him as shit go, but you need to let that go versus having him hold on to him and let him suffer with kidney failure, right? And I have heard some stories of pet owners that do that. But, whether your beliefs in the afterlife all shape how deeply and uniquely we grieve. That it really does. It really, whatever your belief systems are, your focus determines your reality, right? One owner who chooses, the exhaustive and intensive care, which we did with our first cat, they may, instead of euthanizing them, they may feel guilt or doubt, while someone whose cat passed suddenly might feel shock and anger. And I posted this on my Intuitive Prospector page if you want to read along with me. I posted this a couple of days ago. Another may find solace if they believe in rebirth or crossing over, or like I said, the rainbow bridge. That is my belief. I am not trying to make you believe what I believe. You'll believe based on your own experiences and your own journey. While others may feel empty and doubt. I feel empty right now. It's like a light went out in me because of this awesome totem animal spirit that was in my life for almost 15 years, right? Grief isn't a uniform path. It's shaped by our experiences. It's shaped by our belief and what we did or didn't do. But at the end of the day, it's about making the best with the information we have when it comes to grief. Psychological models on grief, they're useful, but I don't find them to be prescriptive. Many know the 5 stages of grief or the 5 stages of death and dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who I first learned about when I was going through my brother's journeys and trying to be there for them, as one was murdered, and then 3 days later, the other one was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer called glioblastoma. And we had just lost my father-in-law to multiple sclerosis, so at the young age of 47. So just trying to manage all of these events. And the one model of grief, of the 5 stages of grief, there are the 5 stages that we go through. We go through the denial, like the denial last Friday that I have to put my buddy down, my boy down. The anger after, watching him go and being angry that he's not here with me, right? The bargaining, like, is there anything we can do? Are we sure it's not his teeth and not his kidneys? Um, the depression that comes with, I've had my good days, I've had my bad days, but then also the acceptance of it. Those are the 5 stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But this notion has become controversial, and psychology now recognizes this as a nonlinear and cultural influence. There's no universal timeline or sequence. Grief can swirl back, it can repeat, it can skip stages entirely. Rather than a map, see it as a garden of feelings. See it as a garden of your emotions, and all, not just in a linear approach, but recognize it just as your garden of grief. That's how I would call it today. I have my garden of grief, and within that garden, without any particular order, I may have acceptance, I may have joy, I may have anger, I may have denial. But there's no universal timeline. And I remember people saying to me, time does heal, but it doesn't necessarily go away. You can be triggered by a trigger moment or an event that takes you right back. My brothers have been in the spirit world for over 25 years now. And there's certain, a picture, a movie, a quote, a look-alike that can take you right back to that moment. And that's why I believe that time is the great um, falsity, because time is a great illusion, right? Because all of a sudden I've been in this world for 25 years, but all of a sudden something happens. I lose 25 years and go right back to that moment of my brother being murdered or being with my brother and his brain cancer, right? So, it's nonlinear. I do find it is controversial, and it is culturally influenced, which I totally understand that. But rather than a map, see it as a garden of grief, of your feelings, of your emotion, because each person nurtures a certain part of their garden. A person weeds a certain part of their garden, or harvests when the garden is ready to harvest emotions differently. And we're all different. I always say in my podcast, there's over 8 billion people on the planet, but there's only one you, because you're unique. You bring forth your visions and your perspectives and your emotions. And we're all here living on this planet in this thing called life. And, research confirms pet grief is deep and valid. Again, I love to blend spirituality with scientific research, peer models, peer reviews, studies, papers. And I went and looked at some of the papers, went to a few based on peer reviews, and surmise some of my findings from this. A systematic review found that 68 to 70% of owners report grief as an intense or more than human loss. A survey of 340 owners who euthanized pets revealed 75% mourned privately, 58 sought social support, 32% adopted new pets, and only 1% joined support groups, only 1%. And so I'm sharing this with you today because I would fall into the 58% of sought social support, but also sharing his journey and who he was as a cat, how much love and healing he brought, because I went through some pretty challenging times, and he was always there, right? Always loyal, always loving, listened, right? But he would talk to me too. He would talk to me in his own way. But 75% mourn privately, and that's fine too. Mourning and grief can be a very private thing too. Um, Many experience depression, anxiety, guilt, and physical symptoms such as sleep issues and appetite changes. I can relate to that. The concept of disenfranchised grief explains why many mourn without acknowledgement. Especially here in the United States. Other cultures around the world I found to be very different, especially in Spain, Portugal, Mexico, other countries outside the United States. They honor. That's why I love the movie Coco. I love it's one of my top Disney movies out there, and they're building a new ride in California Adventure, Coco River Ride. So I will definitely make my way down there to experience that. Because it is about the Rainbow Bridge, right? And why pet loss is often overvalued. It's the lack of recognition that stems from socio-cultural norms. For example, pets are often seen as property, not family. The concept of being an owner, I'm an owner of you, right? I don't know if I agree with that, because sometimes I believe pets pick us, we don't pick them. One of my students in my spiritual growth collective had sent me, I'll just read it to you because it's beautiful. It's called Kahu. Kahu, Kahu. I hope I'm saying it right. I apologize if I'm not kahu. And in Hawaiian culture, a kahu is a term for a pet owner, but it holds a much deeper meaning than just owner. It translates to guardian, protector, steward, or beloved attendant, and it signifies a sacred or honored role rather than one of property. The term implies a deep spiritual connection where the person is entrusted with the safekeeping of a precious being that is considered a part of their own soul. And that's what O'Malley Moose was for me. He was my kahu. And I didn't see him as, I know I was his owner, but I didn't ever see him as property. In fact, we always called him King Moose because we felt like he was the king and we worshiped him, right? So I think he maybe saw us as property and him as the owner, right? But traditional rituals such as funerals or bereavement leave, they don't apply, or at least they're not as codified as human end-of-life rituals. Society may treat pet grief as less legitimate, reinforcing stigma. I found this to be true. I found that people are like, oh, it's just a pet. Yeah, but bear with me, stick with me here. It becomes that stigma, that reinforcing stigma that I was just talking about. And this contributes to the disenfranchisement, with owners feeling isolated or shamed for mourning deeply. Studies show that social support or lack thereof plays a huge role in whether grief becomes harmful or healing. Is your grief harmful or is it healing? Are you turning pain into purpose? That I'll leave that with you. I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing with my pain. I'm turning it into purpose. I'm out in my garden of grief and I'm addressing different emotions, right? But part of this is, I don't want it to be harmful. It was for several years because I didn't recognize some of what I was going through, like survivor's guilt with, if you've ever had a family member murdered, you're automatically pegged. And I know this because I sat with a psychologist when I was still in the Coast Guard. When you have one family member murdered, you're already pegged at the top of the stress scale. There's just, it's just, you're already there. Then you add the other factors that were, going on at the time. So it becomes coping and healing. And what helps is based on what I've done in my own therapy, my own research, is continuing bonds. Letters, keepsakes, memorials, they can support healing when used intentionally. So we have his blanket still on our bed, his heart blanket that he was wrapped in. We brought it and put it on his bed. We've got a candle with his ashes. First time we've ever done this for one of our pets. We have a candle that's being made, glass blown, with his ashes all through it. And then my sister-in-law, Jody, big shout out to her. She gave us this very beautiful wood carving of, it can either be with a cat or a dog, wood carvings, and then it has the rainbow that goes over it. They sit under the rainbow. There's three aspects of it. And so we have it set up, right? So these are coping and healing, continuing the bonds of moose, right? And you can do this with your family members, do the things that they love to be a way to remember them. Look at a picture. A picture says 1,000 words for a reason. Support systems, friends, social groups, reduce loneliness and help transform grief into strength. My collective on Wednesday, we honored our grief. They grieved with me, and there's a few other people in the group that are going through some transformative times, have lost pets themselves. And so it was a way to just set the container to honor their grief, because maybe they haven't yet. Maybe that's what they needed. And beautiful songs and just, really just, crying it out, right? And holding space for each and every one in the collective. These support systems can really help turning, but like I said, in the earlier studies, only 1%, based on the 340 owners that had done euthanized their pets, only 1% joined support groups, and only 32% adopted new pets. I'm not ready for a new pet, so I don't know. I don't think I'll be falling into that 32% anytime soon. I will again, but not for a while. As far as the continuous bonds, the supporting systems, adopting, again, doesn't erase love, only if you feel ready, right? Adoption, it was interesting because the vet said that they're seeing a trend of pets coming in from the COVID timeframe from 2020, because a lot of people adopted pets during COVID because they were lonely, right? So that was interesting for her to tell us that. But over 30% found adopting new pets soothing, not replacing. So soothing, but not replacing. Time matters. Grief doesn't end, but it does reshape. I found this to be true. Healthy mourning doesn't delete love. It integrates it into life. I'll say that again. Healthy mourning doesn't delete love. it integrates it into life. Do animals grieve each other? Yes, you better believe they do. When we had to put our other fur baby down, Finnegan, years ago, we could tell Moose was different. He was mourning the loss of his brother that had been in his life for 4 years. But yes, animals do grieve each other. There's many stories of pet owners, dogs howling and their owners 500 miles away and have died, and the dog knew it. Right? There's a connection there. I don't have the book; it's in my bookshelf back in the closet here, but it's a fabulous book on pets and their owners. But at times, animals will show clear signs of mourning. Dogs show withdrawal, vocalization, changes in sleep. Birds may call for their missing mates. Elephants and whales may return to lost companions' remains. I know that there's a pod here in Seattle. I don't know if it's the K pod or J pod. They're very famous here in Seattle. These are the orca whales. The mother has been carrying her newborn who had died. She's been carrying the newborn with her for several weeks now to honor the loss of her newborn. Right. So elephants and whales and animals, definitely in the animal kingdom, they do grieve as well, just like humans. Studies highlight attachment and oxytocin related responses similar to human-like grief. Animals don't hold human concepts of death, but their social nature means loss affects them, and sometimes with behaviors resembling grief, rituals, or mourning. So what does this mean for us, for those that might be mourning or those that have gone through a loss? Your grief is valid, no matter who you lost or how you lost them. Your grief is valid. Differences in grieving, personality, beliefs, circumstances, they're all natural. There's no wrong way to mourn. So if somebody says you're mourning the wrong way, you're grieving the wrong way, tell them to lock it up, shut up. I'm entitled to mourn the way that I want because your mourning and your grief is valid. I find that disenfranchisement worsens pain, and making space to share helps. Holding space for others, I do that a lot. We do that a lot in our collective. Our animals resonate with grief as well, the ones that are still alive. And so they can feel your energy, your auric field, your vibrations, your thoughts. And so if your animal is making an extra effort to cuddle with you or lick you, which is a form of understanding the salt, the connection, the caring, the compassion that only animals can bring to us as humans. When they resonate with grief, you can help them honor their grief, and together you can build empathy for all in life. And I think that's what it does. I believe that loss and death brings forth even deeper compassion and empathies for others that have similar situations. And again, the one thing we all have in common, death and taxes, right? That's the one thing that awaits us all. But what did grief look like after your pet passed? If you want to comment in the sections, please do so. Feel free to comment away. I'll open up the page again, get back to the page. I got off of it. Back to my page here. And what I thought I would do with just the time that we have left, feel free to post if you want to share a picture, if you want to, be part of this grief, honoring your grief container, please leave a comment. Love to just give you a shout out, hold space for you, whatever that entails. Let's see here. I see some comments coming in. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind here. Beautiful message. Try and stay warm in the Midwest. Yeah, stay warm, Kara. Hi, Nancy. Freezing here in Chicago. Stay warm. Eeyore. Let's see here. Oh, I'm on the wrong show. I had to scroll down. When my dad crossed over, was 3 hours away from his dogs, and they all started barking and carrying on. Yeah, that's an example here of what I'm talking about. It's quite phenomenal, right? It just shows you that we're bigger than we realized or let on to be. But if you want to post a picture and honor this would be that. If you're that 1% looking for a support group, today is that support group for you. You can post a picture, leave a comment, whether it's here on this platform or over on my YouTube channel, because this show will eventually go over to my YouTube channel. Feel free to interact and be a part of today's honoring your grief container. And whether you leave a comment now or in the future, I promise to respond to you and hold space for you as well. But what did grief look like after your pet passed? And did you do anything? Did anything surprise you about it? Right? Because I work in this industry as a medium. I work with a lot of severe loss and traumas and tragedies. And what I do as a consultant, as a counselor, but it still even impacts me. It still brings a paradigm moment, a shift, a tipping point, a new way of looking at things. And again, there's two parts of life or grief: the loss itself, dealing with it like we did last Friday, and now rebuilding our life after. That's what we all have to do. But was there a moment during your grief that felt like a turning point, or a moment that still echoes with you? Leave a comment in that as well. Hi, Rafe. Honoring your pet through words, rituals, and support transforms pain into purpose. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today, is transforming your pain into purpose. And I sincerely encourage you to share your story if you feel safe enough and courageous enough to do so. You can leave it here on my page. Happy to give you a hug, a digital hug, hold space for you. Thank you for all of the love that we've received over this last week. We've received several cards, several condolences. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the support and love that we have shared. So what I want to do is I want to cue up a song. The song is called For Always. Her name is Jenna Bell. And I'm going to cue up the video here in just a second. And what I want to do, with my shows, I love coming on and talking with you and connecting with you and doing readings for you when I can. Remember, it is Diamonds Day, so if you're a subscriber, just another reason to become a subscriber at 11:30. So in about 45 minutes, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then again at 3 p.m. for both my international and my national subscribers. It's a great way to get free readings for the month. Again, numerology, mediumship, sound bath, meditation, healing. And so what I wanted to do is I went down to the Puget Sound, and we live right above Lincoln Park. If you're familiar with Seattle, we live in West Seattle, so about 8 miles from downtown Seattle, but we live over, and we were surrounded by the Puget Sound. And so this was a sunset that was taking place at the Puget Sound, and I recorded it. And so what I thought we could do, just for a few minutes, if you want, just take a few minutes just to clear your mind. Take a nice deep breath in. Think about who you want to honor, whether it's a friend, a family, a fur baby. For me, it's going to be Moose, of course, and just celebrating his life. And the song is called For Always, and then we'll come back. But if you want to just have a moment to just take the time to disconnect, so you can make that time to reconnect, then please join me in doing so.
For always, I can promise you always. For a lifetime of Sunday, forever's in your eyes. The rainbow you wait? Can you color me in? Must you shade me in gray? I wanna be golden, rose, rose colored gold, touched by the sun. I wanna feel chosen, like you pull me right out of the rainbow. Blue, painted blue. If I hold my breath and wait for you, stay. Won't you wait? Can you color me in? Must you shade me in gray? I wanna be golden. I wanna be
Alrighty. So I hope that was a moment for you to honor your grief, to turn pain into purpose. The two songs, again, these are royalty-free, trademark-free songs that I've been approved to play by Jenna Bell. Just giving shout outs to the artists because they share their music with me for free. The first one was called For Always, and the last one was called Rainbows, fitting over the Rainbow Bridge. And as we start to wrap up, like I said, grief comes in two parts. The first is the loss itself, and then the second is the remaking of life. And one of the quotes that I love from John Lennon, who tragically left us way too early from the Beatles. There's a new documentary actually coming out with the Beatles, but he always said this quote: "I'm not afraid of death because I don't believe in it. It's just getting out of one car and into another." And that's the fabulous John Lennon, who wrote one of the best songs of all time, Imagine. And so, that's always given me comfort. I don't believe in death anymore. I used to. I think I was along the lines of, I've never been atheist, but I think I've been more agnostic, wanting proof of God, that big booming voice from the sky that we see in the movies and we read about in books. But, Edgar Allan Poe said this: "The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Who shall say where one ends and where the other begins?" And that's from the great Edgar Allan Poe. And it's processing your emotions, identifying your emotions, but also honoring your grief and trying to turn your pain, the pain that I feel today and will feel for the rest of my life, but how can I turn that into purpose? And how can I live a better life, a more inspired life, to be in the present moment? And again, grief is real, and it's not always about death. So you may be going through grief, but once you identify it, it helps you to adjust and to process and to shift. into a more deeper fulfilled life, I guess is what I would say from all of this. Take those moments to, make the time to disconnect so you can have that time to reconnect. We're heading out into nature. I think nature is a great catalyst. I always say, people always say, well, what's your religion? My religion, actually, if I was to say I was religious, is nature, and my language is love, right? And so we're heading to Zion National Park here in a couple weeks to connect with the beauty of Zion, which is just north of Vegas. I think that's the southern tip of Utah. So we're going to go process our grief and just be out in nature. So let nature be your greatest teacher, your greatest healer, your greatest inspirer, your greatest connector, your greatest Wi-Fi signal to move stuff. It's like when I go down to the Baja and let the ocean take away my grief and then bring it back to bring in I have it right here, my sparkle stone. I found this years ago, and I found this on the beach, and I've kept it ever since. Sparkle, because the ocean literally brought sparkle back to me. And so I hope that helps for those of you that are going through a changing moment. I know there's a lot going on in our world. There's going to be more. If you follow my journey and my forecasting, my articles, and my podcast, I've been talking about the Roaring Twenties for a long time. The decade of great ascension, evolution, transformation, chaos, the great coming together. I don't know if I saw my Seahawks in the Super Bowl, so I'm not very good psychic when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do see a lot of changes coming, including that we're not alone in the universe, that we're not alone on this planet, that there is a much bigger picture to our reality, and we just have to wait, watch, and witness, right? So that's part of the forecast. And then, are we ever 100% right? I don't know any psychic or medium that's ever 100% right all the time. But we have these abilities to glimpse or to download or to connect to something through our abilities and through our emotions and through our auric field and through our education and through our understanding and belief system and lack of belief system. I've had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I was taught that wasn't right for me. So find your path. The journey of 1,000 miles always begins with a single step. So I appreciate you tuning in today. Again, it's Diamonds Days for my I don't know why I'm saying prescribers, maybe subscribers for Patreon and Diamonds Hub. My YouTube video will be up here in about an hour. If you want to go over my YouTube video, I'm talking about spiritual connections through travel, some of the things that I have come across. But one of the last things that I'll leave with you, if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask a question. If you're a subscriber, you'll have a badge next to your name like Kara and Tara. You can see that they have badges next to their name. If you guys want a quick reading, I'm happy to do that before 11:30. It's 11 o'clock right now, so I got about a half hour. But I wanted to kind of just read this. I posted this on my Spiritual Growth Collective page, and it talks about life. I'm just going to get over there real quick. Go to the Spiritual Growth Collective. And I posted this on our page because this is so right where I feel like at. Again, I got the banner next to me, the plaque that says, life happens. Life doesn't ask us what we want. And I think a lot of what I do is I can help you to see things a little bit differently based on my own experiences, if you will. But where did I put it? But while I'm waiting, if you have a question for me, you can call me at my phone number, my business line, 206-588-0661. I'll get on the page here and put the links if you want to become a subscriber or if you want to connect to my YouTube channel. Picture's not coming up. There it is. All right. So I just shared this with my collective the other day because it really is, life. When you buy something, you get a warranty, or they're like, hey, check out the fine print. So life, it says this, and I always said that life is an acronym: learn it from experience. Available for a limited time only, limit 1 per person, subject to change without notice, provided as is and without any warranties, non-transferable, and is the sole responsibility of the recipient, may incur damages arising from use or misuse, Additional parts sold separately. Your mileage may vary, subject to all applicable fees and taxes. Terms and conditions apply. Other restrictions apply. And that is life, right? That is the definition of life. Available for a limited time only. Whew. So I hope that that helps today. I hope that makes sense. Honor your grief, move through your pain, acknowledge, name your pain, feel your pain, release your pain. And when you do that, that's when a shift really starts to take place. And, you can turn your pain into purpose, and you can go out into your garden of grief with all the different emotions that I talked about, and just be in that garden and celebrate, which is also being out in nature. Being out in the garden is the same way of connecting to the earth, to the dirt. So if there's no other questions for me, I'll see some of you over on the subscribers Diamonds Day Zoom room at 11:30. If I have a lot of people, just please be patient, stay in the waiting room, and I'll bring you in as soon as I can. And then I'll be back on at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So check your local time zone where you're ever at. If you're on the page, the Patreon page or the Diamonds Hub, you know where the links are. And I look forward to chatting with you on whatever you want to go prospecting for, whether it's the diamond within or the many hidden gems that are surrounding all of us, if we choose to look for that. So again, I'm going to root on my Seattle Seahawks for Super Bowl 60. I'm predicting a big win over the Patriots in just less than 48 hours. I'm sure if I'm wrong with my prediction, there's keyboard warriors out there. There's always somebody let you know that you're wrong. But feeling pretty confident about that. I think the Patriots will show up, but not be able to get over the top against our Seahawks defense. So good luck to you Patriots fans out there. If you don't watch football, then disregard. Also, a big happy birthday to my mom. My mom is celebrating her birthday today. So happy birthday, Mom. Love you. Hope you have a fantastic day celebrating another year around the sun, right? Another year of life. We're the only species that celebrates birthdays by going 365 days around the sun. But happy birthday to my mom, who is celebrating her birthday today. And with that, I don't see any other questions popping in. If they are, I apologize. I am missing them. I am taking questions. So I just apologize if I'm not seeing them. Sometimes it's behind. But I hope you enjoyed that meditation too, and just honoring your grief. So, okay. So no questions coming in. Again, you can always ask to come into the Zoom room. My business line, 206-588-0661. That's my direct line. If you want to have a chat with me on the phone, don't want to come on video, I get that. Keep your questions, polite and kind and professional, right? And especially when I'm live. I'm going to close this out with a song called Up Here. I haven't listened to it yet, so hopefully it's not too bad, but I'm thinking of Up Here, right? Heaven isn't up, heaven isn't down. It's all around. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. It's not a location. But I figured I'd just try this. Or I could do Colors of the Rainbow. Maybe we'll do Colors of the Rainbow. There's two songs that I have queued up these are copyright trademark free songs that the authors. One is Brent Bugis, and Up Here is by The Buildings. So maybe we'll start with the Colors Up Here. It's kind of a pop song, Colors of the Rainbow. I guess maybe I'll do that because we've been talking about the Rainbow Bridge all day. I'm going to dedicate this episode, this show, to my boy, my spirit totem animal, who is now with me in a different way, O'Malley, aka Moose, who spent almost 15 years of my life showing me what a cool cat can be, and what a very loving, kind, compassionate cat who is going to be severely missed by many of us that knew him or took care of him. I let some of our house sitters know, and so they cried with me in hugs and pictures. And but if you catch this episode after, if you want to post a later comment, either here or if it ends up over on my YouTube channel later down the road, post a picture, post a comment. I'll make sure to give you that digital hug and send you some compassion and hold space, because I personally believe that's what we can do for each and every one of us on this planet, regardless of what's going on in the world. Maybe just disconnect from that. There's a lot of BS, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of cognitive dissonance that's taking place. And maybe that's what has to happen, that total reset, the rise of the phoenix, right? Things need to fail before they can be rebuilt. Deepak talked about that, usually before great transformation, it's preceded by great chaos. So, If you want to leave a comment, please do so either during the live show or after. This will be on my page. If you want to see the things that I was bullet pointing today about grief, that's on a few of my pages. You can follow my Soul Adventures page, my plant medicine awareness for community and friends page, spiritual beings having human experiences page, inspired living page, intuitive prospector page, or if you're friends with me personally on my Marc Lainhart private page. They're all up in there, and they're just they're good bullet points to just help you identify. And it's okay to honor your grief, especially if you're a pet owner, because we grieve them even harder because they spend most of the time with us 24/7, 365. And usually when you talk about your pet, you say we because you're combined with them, and that's what I think makes the loss even more difficult. Misha says, just lost my dog Han Solo. Oh, my dear. We're just sending you lots of love and lots of digital hugs and holding space for you. I love that name, Han Solo. Tell you what, this is for Han Solo. He's home. He's home in his Millennial Falcon. How's that? There you go. I just have this right off camera. This is the cool stone I got this last year at the Conscious Wellness Expo. It actually, if you put it under the black light, it actually glows different colors within the stone itself. But I have the Millennial Falcon, and so Han, your beloved fur baby, is co-piloting with Chewbacca, and they are out there in the universe. I'll throw some Star Trek in there to boldly go where no one has gone before, and that's for all of us, right? So just sending you lots of love, Misha, and my condolences, and I know how hard it is. So, all right. Well, I'll see the subscribers at 11:30 here in about 20 minutes. I look forward to prospecting with you, and then the prospectors at 3 p.m. If you're a subscriber. We will be on the air for Inspired Living. We're making some changes. We're working through that. It's going to be still a podcast. You can get Inspired Living wherever you listen to your podcast from. We're now up there with voted best inspirational, spiritual, and now introspective podcast to listen to, and you can get the show wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. But hopefully, we're going to make a transition to Om Times Television here within the next few guests. We're slowly working on a new banner, new ad, and then Om Times Television will be just like this, but I'll be interviewing amazing people, and then it will go to a podcast format. So that is what we're looking forward to in 2026. I don't know if I will be on next. Yeah, I'll be on next Friday because we're leaving next Friday for Zion National Park to connect with nature and honor our grief. So I'll be with you next Friday, and we'll be on the air live this next Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday, as I like to say. And again, we encore throughout the week, and then you get the podcast. 11 seasons wherever you listen to your podcast from. So, all right, my friends. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for letting me share my story with you today and how to honor our grief and knowing that grief is real and just take it one day at a time too, right? Lots of breath work, lots of remembrance and memories, and turning pain into purpose is always recommended for the journey of going through grief. If you want to learn more about what I'm doing, what's upcoming, go to marclainhart.com, internet search the Intuitive Prospector. And like I said, I'd be honored to prospect for the diamond within and also help you realize that there's a lot of many hidden gems that are all around us. And just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not a part of us. The three eyes in life, right? Two to look, one to see. So until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Most importantly, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. And I know that you'll discover the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us. Let's see if Zoom will do it for me. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you next time here for Metaphysical Meetup with the Intuitive Prospector. I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, and I will see you again. Namaste. Namago. All right.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.